Some truths don't just live in books. They live in your body. Before any rules or religions, there was a voice, free, ancient, and female. She didn't ask to be noticed. She was simply there. But when she wouldn't bow down, people called her a threat. That's when the world tried to silence what Lilith came to bring. But the message didn't die. It hid in dreams. In life's cycles. In the quiet strength you've carried since the beginning. Lilith was never darkness. She was the fire before any rulebook. And now, with the world falling apart, her voice rises again. This time through the heart of the Dragon Queen awakening. These women didn't come from big families or powerful names. They came from fire. They stand for a power we were told to fear, not to hold. But the fire is back now. It speaks through women who take back their bodies, their limits, their truth. And through men who choose to meet the sacred feminine without trying to control it. You're not watching this by chance. Maybe your soul already knew this long before your mind could catch up. Maybe this message has lived in you, waiting for this very moment to wake up. You've likely heard her name before. Maybe in stories that made her a villain. Or in books that barely said anything about her. But Lilith wasn't a side note. She was the fire before the flame, the breath before any word, the first sign of true feminine power. Long before being quiet was seen as holy. They say she left Adam. But she didn't walk away, she stood up. She looked him in the eyes and said something the world couldn't handle: we are the same. When that truth was rejected, she chose to leave instead of letting herself disappear. That wasn't being defiant. That was remembering. A deep remembering of a soul that refused to shrink just to be liked. She didn't want a crown or applause. Only a sky big enough for her wings. Lilith isn't just a story. She's a feeling. A rhythm inside the ones who were told to be quiet, to be polite, to smile more. She lives in every person who walks away from a pretty cage. In the woman who says no and doesn't explain why. In the man who picks honesty over being liked. In the artist who throws away the rulebook and creates something real. Her path isn't easy. It never was. Those who carry her voice are rarely praised. They're often questioned, avoided, labeled. But they find each other in the dark. And they find themselves in the silence. Maybe you felt that. A quiet pull inside. A restless feeling that says, this isn't right. This isn't all. That's her. Not a myth or a faraway goddess, but something alive in your body. She doesn't come with steps or prayers. She comes when you choose truth over what you've been told. When you say no without guilt. When you use your voice after hiding it for too long. That moment you realize you don't need to be chosen to be enough. You already are. That's Lilith rising in you, like a wave that doesn't need permission to reach the land. You don't have to burn your life down for her. But maybe you'll need to light a small flame. Begin right where you are. Say no when you mean no. Say yes only when your whole body agrees. Let discomfort show you where you lost yourself. Write what scares you. Look in the mirror and say your name until it feels like something sacred. Read the words that make your chest feel like thunder. Wild words. Listen to songs that wake up your spine like it remembers being a snake. Let yourself feel deeply. Be shaken. Be made new. In a world that loves masks and hates honesty, Lilith is called dangerous. Not because she tears things down, but because she wakes people up. She reminds you that you don't need permission to be whole. That you're not too much. That your sharp edges aren't a problem, they're a doorway. She doesn't want people to follow her. She wants them to reflect her. And if you're still listening, still here, maybe you've already felt her move. In the place where you won't shrink. In the part of you that would rather be alone than fake. In the still moments, where your truth waits, barefoot, patient. And every time you say yes to that truth, not just once but again and again, something opens. A curtain lifts. A memory returns. A deep current moves inside you. And suddenly, you're not walking alone. You're walking beside every soul who's ever chosen the wild, illogical path, the one that didn't look right on paper, but felt written in the stars. Lilith never promised comfort. She promised you'd remember. Remember who you were before they told you who to become. Remember how freedom felt before you gave it away to fit in. Remember the first breath your soul took, before forgetting it had wings. So stay with me. There's more. Because Lilith's story doesn't end here. It's just the door. And behind that door, someone else is waiting. Someone who shares her exile. Someone whose voice, like yours, has waited a long time to be heard. But for now, let the quiet speak. Let the ache breathe. Let Lilith sit next to you in the dark. Not to fix you, but to remind you, you were never broken. Just wild. And fully whole. Most people think exile means it's over. That it's a punishment or a loss. But what if exile isn't the end? What if it's the sacred pause before you remember who you really are? Lilith didn't run and hide. She went deep into the dark on purpose, like a seed finding water underground. She didn't disappear. She planted herself where no one could erase her. And since then, her echo has been quietly moving under the surface, waiting for those who don't just hear, but remember. What if every time you were ignored, pushed aside, or told to be quiet, it wasn't failure? What if it was a secret code? Not weakness, but training. Her message wasn't written down. It wasn't sung in temples or carved in stone. It lived in the small spaces, in the feelings that don't make sense, but stir something deep in you. You know those times you hear a melody and feel like you're falling into a memory you never lived? Or you wake up from a dream crying, even though you didn't understand it? That's her language. It's not clear or simple. It's in your senses, not your mind. Her truth lives between what was allowed and what still waits behind your breath. That's why you've always felt that strange feeling under the surface. That little pull when someone tells a story you're supposed to accept, but something inside you tightens. And you don't know why. You just know it doesn't feel right. That's her. That's you remembering her exile wasn't just hers, it was shared. A forgetting that lasted for generations, turning wild truth into legend, turning powerful women into shadows. Still, her message didn't die. It stayed alive, not because people protected it, but because it was felt in dreams, in art, and deep knowing. In the child who doesn't follow orders. Not to be bad, but because her soul remembers what freedom feels like. Want to hear that message again? Sit still. Light a candle. Close your eyes and breathe like your breath connects you to something older. Not something new, but something ancient. Play music that feels older than words. Let your feelings move without trying to explain them. Notice what comes up when you stop pretending. When you're real. When the mask is gone, and all that's left is the feeling. Ask yourself, what have I always known but was too scared to say? That question isn't a key to a door. It makes you realize the door was never real. The truth wasn't locked away. It was hidden under layers. Covered up. Quieted. But it was never gone. That's the deep truth, right? The ones pushed out, called names, forgotten, are often the ones who carry the real message. Not the message of following rules, but of where we came from. Lilith's message was never about getting revenge. It was about taking back your voice, your memory, the part of you that wanted to rise but was told to sit down. And now, more people are starting to feel that pull. More people are whispering what they used to be afraid to say. Something old is waking up. A wave, a deep breath, like the earth is starting to remember names that were hidden and truths that were wrapped in stories just to survive. Lilith was never truly alone. Her story is one of many that people tried to erase, and failed. There were others, keepers of truth, helpers of awakening, carriers of fire and messages not meant for temples, but for the quiet space between heartbeats. You don't have to go find them. They're already inside you, in your reactions, in your desires, in how you can tell when something's fake, and when something feels like healing. Her exile wasn't about running away. It was a guide, not to leave the world, but to wake up inside it. And as you follow that guide, you might realize something you've always known. Hidden under the noise. That you've been part of this story the whole time. Not all queens wear crowns. Some carry their strength in their bones, in hidden wings, and in a fire that still remembers its name. The dragon queens aren't made-up stories. They're parts of us we've tried to forget. Signs of a time when feminine power wasn't soft or quiet, but full, wild, and holy. They come from before the world taught us to feel shame. Before the serpent was blamed. Before the womb was called just a body part. They aren't returning, they are waking up. And they don't fall from the sky. They rise from deep inside. You felt them, haven't you? In the way your skin reacts to storms. In dreams where you grow wings, even if you don't know why. In that chill that moves through you when someone speaks a truth that has no words. The dragon queens don't wait for approval. They appear when a woman finally says, "I won't hide anymore." In the man who cries for no reason, but feels more alive. In the dancer whose body tells stories she never learned. They move through those who no longer fit in their old names, roles, or fears. Their voice isn't heard, it's felt. It rises like heat in your back. The old serpent path. Energy coiled and waiting. Not an idea, but something alive. The dragon queens don't call through thoughts. They call through feelings. That flutter in your belly when something feels both new and deeply familiar. That warmth in your chest that makes you stop breathing for a moment. Goosebumps when the air is still. These aren't random. They're signs. When that happens, don't ignore it. Don't explain it away. Pause. Feel it. Let it land. That's memory knocking. Not from this life, but from before. Want to meet them inside yourself? Start by moving. Not the way someone taught you, but how your bones want to move. Turn off the lights. Let the music speak. Move with no plan, like an animal remembering how to feel. Or try breathing deeply, focusing on the bottom of your spine, your belly, your center. Breathe like your breath could melt stone. Bathing with herbs like mugwort, rosemary, or lavender can also help unlock something within. The goal isn't to perform. It's to be fully present, to feel so much in your body that the space between you and what you forgot starts to fade. And when that space lifts, the dragon queens won't feel far away. They'll feel like you. Because the fire they carry is the same fire you've tried to hide. The one that made people say you were too much. But that fire doesn't want to ruin things. It wants to show the truth. It wants to shine light on every part of you that was told to stay small. Every place where the truth was hidden to keep the peace. The dragon queens rise, not to destroy the world, but to burn away the lies you believed about your soul. That kind of fire scares people, not because it's harmful, but because it wakes them up. And systems built on sleep don't welcome those who are starting to see clearly. Once that fire lights up, you can't go back. You won't want to. Your body won't move the old way. Your eyes will start seeing symbols in everyday life. Your breath becomes a prayer. And your body, the one you were told to fix or hate, becomes sacred. Every scar, every curve, every shake is part of your truth. Your body becomes a story. Your bones, an altar. And you stop walking like someone lost. You walk like a queen who just remembered she never gave up her crown. So if you feel fire in your belly, if you hear wings in your dreams, if the serpent stirs in your spine, stay with it. Don't rush. Don't overthink. Let it rise. The dragon queens aren't here to be worshipped. They're here to help you wake up the dragon inside yourself. You don't need to visit ancient ruins to find sacred wisdom. You are sacred. Your body is the original text, not written in ink, but in feeling, breath, and heartbeat. Every scar tells a story. Every shiver is a line of that story. Every ache you've learned to ignore might be a chapter that wants to be read. Your body isn't broken. It holds secret messages. The strange thing is, you're both the book and the one reading it. And no, there's no guidebook. There's only memory. A slow return to an inner language that the world tried to make you forget. You're not meant to figure it out with your mind. You're meant to remember it by being fully present. The belly holds stories that no book could explain. The womb doesn't keep facts, it holds feelings. For women, it carries the voices of mothers who gave birth quietly, bled without witnesses, and cried prayers into the earth no one blessed. For men, the gut is where truth sits. When emotions are blocked, the gut gets tight, feels empty, or flutters. It doesn't need logic, it needs to be heard. That heaviness in your belly might not be stress. It might be the voice of an ancestor who never got to speak, or a promise your soul made long ago that you're finally ready to break. It's not just a stomach ache. It's a moment of awakening. Then there's the spine, your living scroll, the path of the serpent. Each bone is like a word. Each curve, a line of a poem. Grief makes your shoulders slump. Joy lifts your body like a prayer. That's because your body doesn't just store memory, it speaks it. Lilith, the forgotten one, whispers from the depths of the womb. The dragon queens rise like fire moving up your spine. Together, they write a sacred poem, not through rules, but through breath, tension, and feeling. You aren't separate from this story. You are the story. So how do you begin to read it? With stillness. The kind of stillness that feels like letting go. Sit. Close your eyes. Let your awareness move gently from the top of your head down to your feet. Don't try to change anything, just notice. What's pulsing? What's numb? Where does your breath stop? That space between noticing and naming, that's where the sacred lives. You don't need incense. You need honesty. And if it feels right, try somatic therapy or trauma-informed yoga. Not as trends, but as ways to come home to yourself. Awakening doesn't always show up with lightning. Sometimes it's a tight jaw. A throat that swells when you try to speak your truth. It's the tiredness after pretending all day. Or tears that come for no clear reason, but something deep inside finally feels seen. The body speaks when the soul gets tired of waiting. So ask gently, what is my body trying to tell me that my mind is afraid to hear? That question opens something. Not a door outside you, but one in your breath, your muscles, your spine. And when you really listen, you'll start to see this story isn't only yours. The tightness in your hips, it could belong to your grandmother. The fear in your throat, it could be from a forgotten priestess who had to stay silent to survive. The more you open, the more you realize, you carry stories bigger than just your own. And as you uncover your truth, you free others too. The ones who spoke through blood and bone, whispering, remember us. That's why exile was never really exile. It was a way of keeping the sacred safe. It was protection. It was truth hidden in your body, waiting for you to return and read it. Exile feels like punishment until you see it for what it really is, transformation. Lilith's banishment turned her into more than a myth. She became a living example of how pain can become power. Think about what would happen if you used your own wounds to grow. Like turning lead into gold, but inside your spirit. It's not easy. But it's possible. Every time you stand up for yourself, it's like taking a step into the fire. That fire isn't just symbolic. Think about times you were rejected, maybe a job you didn't get or a friendship that ended. Those moments aren't failures. They're like furnaces that burn off what isn't real, leaving only your true self. That's spiritual metalwork in real life. Practical transformation means facing your shadows. Grab a journal. Write down emotions you usually avoid: anger, shame, jealousy. Sit with each one. Don't judge them. Then ask, what wisdom does this emotion carry? You might find that anger shows you where your boundaries were crossed. Shame might show you what values you've ignored. These insights are tools for change. Lilith's message was never about revenge. It was about remembering the fire inside you. She didn't want to destroy Eden. She wanted to reclaim her roots. In your life, that might mean picking up an old hobby. Or finally saying something you've been scared to say. Maybe you start painting again. Maybe you speak up at work. These small acts of honesty are sparks. They feed your inner fire. And as that fire grows, it changes everything. Some relationships get stronger. Others fall away. That's not loss. It's clarity. You begin to attract people who match your truth, not just your past. It's like tuning an instrument. When you're in tune, false notes fade. A new song begins. And in that song, you realize something powerful. Transformation isn't a finish line. It's a sound, a feeling that moves between shadow and light, between being lost and coming home. It's the very vibration that calls you forward, where prophecy becomes a living story. No one's going to show up and give you a crown. And honestly, that's the beautiful part. True power doesn't come from approval or permission. It starts with a quiet choice: I belong to me. Lilith doesn't need a temple. She rises in the woman who finally stops saying sorry for being complete. And those dragon queens? They return not through stories, but through your presence. That presence is the shift. It's not always big or loud. Sometimes, it's choosing peace over noise. It's walking away from roles that never felt right. It's trusting that your gut feeling was always telling the truth. The real change happens in those quiet moments, when you stop explaining who you are. When you realize no one needs to understand, as long as it feels true in your soul. Want to live in that power? Start by listening to your honest yes and your firm no. Not every offer is meant for you. Not every road is yours to take. Try this small habit each morning. Ask yourself, what part of me wants to lead today? Maybe it's the nurturer, the visionary, or the wild soul. Let her speak. Let her take the lead. And don't doubt her. This isn't about fighting what's fading. It's about stepping into what's real. The true feminine doesn't scream to get noticed. She glows. Like the moon, she doesn't fight with the sun. She shines in her own quiet power. Your path doesn't need to be loud. It just needs to be grounded. And when you're grounded, even your silence makes waves. The world is shifting. Can you feel it? More people, women and men, are waking up to the deeper feminine energy. They know they're here for something meaningful. Not to perform, but to remember. This isn't rebellion just to rebel. It's a return. A return to what's true. A return to old wisdom and ancient rhythm. And with that return, something powerful begins, not with noise, but with breath. Not with drama, but with calm. You'll start to notice the little things, the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you listen to your body without needing proof. And deep down, a name starts to rise. It's a name that's always been with you. Lilith was never a scary story. She was a memory waiting for you to feel her. And the dragon queens? They were never gone. They've been waiting for someone brave enough to remember. So now that you do, what will you choose? Will you keep living small, hiding who you are just to fit in? Or will you finally trust that inner voice that keeps calling you back?